Good morning, my friends. It's nice to see you here today in our nice hot week here in Boise, Idaho. If you're new to me, welcome. I'm Marshall Burtcher, and I help codependents discover their happiness, their well-being after narcissistic abuse, and help them accomplish that by healing the trauma bond so that they come to know, love, and live who they are, so that they can understand and nurture themselves and build happy, healthy relationships in their lives. That's what I do. I've been doing this for 13 years now. Recovered codependent myself, so it's one of those I know the territory, not just the map thingies. Today's episode, it's about boundaries. It's boundaries episode number 3, the 3 essential emotional boundaries for healthy being. So I don't know how attractive that title is, but yeah, maybe that's really about happiness and well-being there. So before we get started today, I need to share this out to the community. The community is your safe haven here on the internet, where you can find guidance, tools, and support in your journey beyond codependency and exiting toxic relationships, discovering yourself, healing the craving that you have for the other individual, the enmeshment, the dependency you feel on them. And you can also discover that you're sane, that what you're going through isn't rare, that you are not alone in this, and that the feelings you have, the experience you've been through are valid and real and legitimate. So join above on Facebook. The link's up there, below on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Now I've got to click a button of my own. Got to share it to the group. Kind of like rusty on this because it's been a bit. All right. Good morning, Rita. I am good. I'm good. I'm just enjoying the day. So, all right. So 3 essential emotional boundaries for healthy being. Often in codependency, we enmesh ourselves with other people's emotions. Last night in the Heal Yourself strategy, we were talking about differentiation. And one of the elements of differentiation we were discussing is emotional separateness. And the necessity of recognizing that our feelings are separate from other people's feelings, even if they're the same. Another component to this is that just because we're aware of what someone feels, that does not necessitate or create responsibility for what they feel. See, my perspective on this is that human beings are 100% responsible for what they feel, for what they do, for what they choose, for what they desire. That means that the responsibility in this aspect is that it's theirs. It's in their yard. It's their territory. It came up within them, so the responsibility for caring for it and managing it solely falls on them. Now, in codependency, we tend to take responsibility for their feelings, and we do that for a number of different reasons. One of the major ones is that we have been taught that we make people feel things with what we do or don't do. We even believe that people make us feel things with what they do or don't do. We believe that other people, or that we have special power to make somebody feel something. This feeds into the fantasy that we can change others, and that if we just showed up differently, they would be different. That's not necessarily true. We don't cause other people to have feelings. Our behaviors don't necessarily influence people so much to the degree that they'll show up completely different if we showed up completely different. The other individual has accountability for how they respond and react to another person's behaviors. Well, in this idea of emotional boundaries, we have to come into respect that the feelings another person has are a result of their personal experience, their personal biography or history, their personal programming, their relationship to the situation and the context. It's very individual. This is why 2 people can have very different responses to the same situation. And that's because they have different points of view and different relationships to that same situation. This also demonstrates the validity of my claim here that we don't create other people's feelings, that it is actually generated within that individual. This allows us to have emotional boundaries, first starting with what's called emotional sovereignty. I can respect that their feelings are theirs and mine are mine. This allows me to have different emotions than they do and not have to change their feelings or my feelings in order to feel safe, in order to feel regulated or even seen, valued, connected, and heard. In other words, I don't have to mimic them emotionally in order for me to feel safe, and I don't have to regulate them in order for me to feel safe. Instead, I can respect it. It's like, oh, you're having a really difficult day. I can hold space for that. While I'm having a great day, and I can hold space for that too. And vice versa. I'm having a hard day. They're having a great day. I can respect that space and that sovereignty. This allows me to acknowledge the differences I have with others and the samenesses I have, the similarities I have with them. It also allows me to create genuine connection because I can recognize them and myself separately. So it's like I know where I'm at, I know where they're at, and I can stay in my yard. I don't have to carry their emotions anymore. I don't have to regulate it. I don't have to fix it. I can empathize with it. I can hold space with it. I can be indifferent to it. I have lots of options that I can choose based on what works for me with where I'm at in my world. So basically, this comes down to respecting the sovereignty of their emotions. So that's boundary number one. Respecting the emotional sovereignty of your emotions and theirs, the separateness of them, and then allowing them to stay in their yard. The second one is to boundary empathy. Because a lot of times in codependency, we utilize empathy to create connection with other individuals. We use it as a means of feeling important, valued, useful to the other person because I will empathize with them, I can help them, I can be in their yard, I can fix a thing. This gets us out of our yard and into their world and gets us enmeshing with them. But also motivates us to do things that harm us and bring hurt and pain and neglect into our world. It also motivates us to ignore the consequences another person has chosen with their choices and their actions. And that's very, very critical for our well-being and our sanity, is to understand that, hey, you chose this. I know it sucks. This is going to hurt. And then they got to receive the consequence. This allows us to stop, well, it stops us from enabling others, and it allows others to grow through the consequences of their choices and actions. They get to learn the lesson of that. So boundaried empathy isn't I need to fix it or I'm responsible for what they feel. Boundaried empathy is, oh, yeah, that really does suck. That's awful. That's hard. I can hold space with you for it. But I am not going to get in the way of the consequence. I'm not going to interfere with what's going on. I'm going to allow you to work. I'm staying out of the way. We're going to see what you do with it. That's respect for their power. That's respect for their maturity. That's respect for their choices and their actions and their individuality. It allows them to do it allows them to grow. It also keeps you in your yard where you can be confronting your choices and actions and the results those create, and then learning from them rather than avoiding your own choices. Thirdly, it keeps you sober. You can see what people are actually doing, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, that doesn't work for me. I'm not going to continue this relationship with this person because they keep doing this and it brings harm into my world, or it doesn't align with my own standards. It keeps us oriented to ourselves so we know what we need, what we want, and what works for us. So that's boundary number two, is putting boundaries around your empathy rather than fixing or enabling or controlling others to help them through their problems that they created for themselves. Instead, we respect the impact they've chosen for themselves, allow them to learn their lessons, and we focus on our yard and our consequences and lessons that are showing up for us. And then boundary number three is to respect the legitimacy of your emotions. We've been taught in codependency to bypass our feelings. to diminish their value, to disregard them, to ignore them. We've been conditioned to make them wrong, to make them a burden, to make them a problem that has to be fixed. And to really be free of codependent habits, to really be in our own sovereignty, to know ourselves, to love ourselves, and to live who we are, we have to respect the legitimacy of our emotions and our experiences. This allows us to become more sane and more attuned to our reality and to what we're going through. Because if we're not attuned to what we're feeling, we're not attuned to what we want, to what we need, to our boundaries, to our limits. We're not attuned to what brings us joy and what brings us pain. We can't make effective decisions for ourselves. Further, if we're divorcing ourselves from our emotions, we leave ourselves extremely vulnerable to manipulation by other individuals. And we lose contact with who we are. We don't know who we are. We end up losing contact with our ability to connect with others. We end up feeling lonely and empty and deeply lost and manipulated in our world. So I got to respect the legitimacy of our emotions. The emotions, whatever they are valid and real and legitimate. Now, sometimes they don't make a lot of sense to the situation we're in, and we can catch them like, maybe I'm triggered here. Maybe this isn't rational. It may not be to that context that you're in specifically, but it does have a rational basis in the past, because your emotions tell the tale. They tell the story of what you've been through around a particular kind of subject or topic or experience. They're very, very important that way. They are an expression of your biography, of your history. And when we start to respect the legitimacy of our emotions, we actually start to really deeply heal and integrate back with ourselves. This helps us come back to a sense of I'm real, I'm important, I matter, I love myself, I care about myself, I see me, I can sense into me. Legitimacy of emotions has been the centerpiece of how I work with trauma, how I work with emotions. Because without that, we can't access them, we can't understand them, we can't understand ourselves, and we can't really understand others and build emotional bonds that are stable and reliable in our world. So yeah, number 3, respect the legitimacy of your emotions. Respect the legitimacy of their emotions. You don't have to agree with their behaviors, because emotions and behaviors aren't the same thing. But it's like, yeah, I get how you feel that way. I can see that. You know, that's where you're coming from. Or you got history there. And you can respect yours too. And they can be both very different things. We don't have to make ourselves wrong or them wrong in order to be in the position we're in. We can respect the difference between the two. But ultimately, for your healing, for your happiness after codependency, for having yourself back, having some peace of mind, we got to legitimize and value our emotional experience and treat it with that respect. So, my friends, that's the 3 boundaries that help with healthy being, the 3 emotional boundaries that create healthy being in your world. And that is boundaried empathy, respecting the sovereignty of yourself and others emotionally, and the legitimacy of your emotions. So there you go, my friends. Yes, let's check out some comments. Cher says, so excellent. Wow, this is information and tools so valuable that will help keep me grounded and saying, yes, thank you. Thank you for that. And then she also shares this explains so many lifelong questions and experiences. Oh, I believe it. I mean, it's done that for me when I was discovering this and coming in contact with it. It's a big deal that way. So thank you guys for showing up. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being the badass that you be in your world. Remember that you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping. And as always, hit subscribe on that button if you're on YouTube. And then join the community with the link above. And if you're looking if you're in a place where you're ready to really heal, you're ready to make that leap and that investment in yourself, check out the courses above in the description on Facebook, below, on YouTube. And I recommend getting the Know Yourself Strategy, because it comes with the foundational healing course called the Heal Yourself Strategy. And it connects you to my expansive course called the Know Yourself Strategy, where I teach you how to know, love, and live who you are. You're going to need both of those courses to really break free and live free of codependency, and they're both included in the Know Yourself strategy. We have enrollment is open for that. The Know Yourself strategy, it starts August 17th. The live classes start then, so we got a little time there, but I highly recommend taking the leap in that and getting yourself totally set up and ready for your own healing and happiness after codependency, because that's what the Know Yourself strategy helps you accomplish. So again, thank you for showing up. Be safe out there. I'll see you guys in our next training video, and have a great day. Okay? Bye-bye.